Where's Fielder?
He's gone to the dogs.
Welcome once again, friends, to the Gone to the Dogs podcast. Steve Fielder here with you. Got my old running buddy Nubbin Moore with me here today. Nubbin, how you doing, bud?
I'm doing just fine, Steve.
Well, that's good. What are you doing there? Alabama, this time of year, you got to be thinking about football.
Well, it's starting next week. I think some of them's playing today, but I just been watching Little League World Series right now or a while ago and all this week.
You're going back to the days of your youth, right?
Oh, yeah. You can talk about it all you want to, can't you?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I like you talking my sport now. You know, listeners ought to know every fall, of course, you and I go somewhere, and we're getting ready to go here. This podcast is going to air on Labor Day, so we'll be just getting back home from our trip to Ottamoks, and we're going to talk a lot about that here in a minute. But fall, when I have to venture into the land of the Crimson Tide, I feel like, well, I won't use the word I usually use, but I kind of feel like an unwelcome child at the family reunion, if you get my drift.
Oh, yeah.
But you guys, football's a religion in Alabama, isn't it?
Well, to a lot of, I love to watch football, but I'm not as bad as a lot of them.
Yeah. Well, some people just really, I think they live year round, just like we do for coon season. They live year round for football season, don't they?
They do, yes, they do.
Yeah. Have you ever been to Tuscaloosa to a ball game?
I've been. I know I've been twice. I might have been a third time, but I've been a couple of times.
Yeah. Well, it's a proud tradition down there. I remember when I was going to school in college in Lakeland, Florida, and there were several guys from Alabama that were there going to school. And man, I just have to call them football fanatics because
a lot of them are.
Back then, Bear Bryant was God's only son.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
Well, that's great. I love college football. I wouldn't go across the street to watch an NFL game, and we got world champions right here in Tampa Bay, but I do like college football.
Yeah, I do too. I watch it. But, you know, if they get beat, they get beat. So what? It's just a game. But a lot of people, they die if Alabama gets beat. And they lost 2 games last year, you know, but the world didn't come to an end, you know.
It's still spinning, best I could tell.
Still spinning.
Yeah, that sun came up this morning up down here in the swamp anyway.
Yeah, it did.
Well, Nubbin, for people that out there, I don't know, they must have been under a rock or something, but if they've heard me on this podcast or seen me at the events or read anything that I wrote in American Cooner or even in my book, they know that you and I have been friends for quite a long time. And it all started back in the UKC days when I was a field rep, then went to work full-time there, and then you became a field rep, and I guess that's where we got to be good friends, and it has been a really good ride. We've logged quite a few miles, haven't we?
We have. I guess that was in the mid-'80s when I met you at some of the hunts, and then wasn't long after that you asked me to be a field rep, and I was that for 10 or 12 years, and then since then we've been coon hunting together every year, and then, you know, it's just been a good ride.
Yeah, it sure has. Well, you know, I have you to thank, and I don't want to blow your head up too big here because I'll have to put up with you on this long ride all the way to Richmond, Indiana and back. But if you hadn't invited me to go out to the White River with you back in 2009, I would have never experienced that probably. I don't know if anybody would have ever mentioned it to me or invited me along. To be honest with you, I didn't even know about it. You know, I didn't realize what was out there. But we've been going out there now since 2010. So
right.
This will be 22. I guess this is must be our 12th year, maybe 13th. I don't know. I only went about a mile to school, so my math's not
Yeah,
Not
it's
too good.
uphill both ways, wasn't it?
It was, and snowing
Good.
like a son of a gun. Both
Barefooted.
ways. Yeah, barefoot.
That's
That's
right.
right. It was rough
It
back
was.
in the day, wasn't it?
It was, yeah.
Yeah, I tell you what, we're going to talk a little bit about autumn oaks here in a little bit because that's kind of what is going on at this time of year. And autumn oaks, to me, I used to say when I was at UKC, come out to autumn oaks and enjoy the last holiday of the summer with your family and friends, and it really is kind of Labor Day's kind of puts a cap on the summertime activities. But
Oh, yeah. Everybody brings their boat home from the lake after Labor Day. Most of them.
yeah. Well, down here they boat year round down here, but with all this water and I don't want to talk about the weather too much. I try never to, but dang, it's been a hot summer down here in Florida. I'm talking about heat. And everybody's talking about it down here, but we tend to forget. I'm reminded of my mother every time my dad would have a litter of puppies. She'd say, "Oh, this is the prettiest litter of pups your dad ever had." And, everyone was the prettiest one. Well, people down here about like that with the summer. They're saying this was the hottest summer they could ever remember in Florida, but I don't believe it is. But we've been having several days in the low 90s here.
Yeah, it's been cool a little bit here lately. Of course, we've had a lot of rain the last couple of weeks too.
Yeah, it rained for about an hour here today. But, listen, we better move along off the weather report here because we don't have any sponsors here like these weather people down here in Florida. They get paid to lie, but they got sponsors. Right. We don't have anybody to sponsor. I don't think W Hunting Supply cares a heck of a lot about the weather in Alabama and Florida. But
they want you to call them and order some collars and some lights and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think that's what they like. I think that's what makes Buddy's day out there when somebody calls up and says, I got my credit card in my hand. Here's what I want.
That's right. Credit card, our debit card won.
That's right. Well, I will use that little opportunity there to thank Buddy Woodbury and all the folks at W Hunting Supply. They really do have basically everything you need to be a coon hunter or to go coon hunting and look good doing it. They got all kinds of shirts and hats and all that stuff, logo wear. But really the thing that W does that sticks out in my mind is their customer service on their Garmin's and any tracking system and all. If they sell it, they'll fix it. And they'll give you the customer support that you need if you're having trouble making the thing work. I know guys our age, sometimes we're not the most computer savvy people out there, but just good folks. So anyway, I don't know what I want to talk about here first. As I mentioned, we are, as I'm recording this, it's a Saturday afternoon before Autumn Oaks Week. In fact, next Saturday, we'll be in Richmond, Indiana, probably heading on our way home in the afternoon. But Autumn Oaks has kind of a special memory for you, I know. Back in 1985, the 25th anniversary, and we've talked about it on here before. And if folks haven't listened to that episode, they can go back and find it and pull that up. But that was the year, the 25th anniversary in Jasper, Indiana, and that's the first time I saw you.
That's right. That was 84, Steve.
Was it 84?
84.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I've added 25 on.
Yeah, I'm older than you, so, I tend to forget also, but it was 84.
Okay. All right. Well, I don't know. I know 1960 was the first Autumn Oaks. And so I don't know. We probably called, I mentioned that before, the Centennial at UKC. UKC was founded in 1898. And Fred Miller wanted to have the Centennial in 1997. And I said, well, 100 on top of 98 is 1998. But he was the boss. He was signing the checks. So I was very happy to agree with him that 97 would work just fine. But you say 85 was our 25th anniversary then.
Yeah,
84, I mean.
Yes,
Yeah,
I remember. It's 84, 85, and 86 is when I remember being up there.
Okay, 84 was the first year you were up there, and that's when you had a big time, didn't you?
Yeah, that's right. You did.
Yeah. Well,
I didn't think it was a big deal. It was to start with, because that's one of the first big hunts that I'd ever went to. I'd hunted here in Alabama to hunt state hunts and stuff like that. But I think that's the first time I'd ever been off on a hunt like autumn oaks.
Yeah. Well, as you mentioned that, you're going to meet a young fella here in a few days that's going to be coming to his first autumn oaks.
Mm-hmm.
His name is Keston Jesse. He lives over in Lebanon, Virginia.
Okay.
And Keston and I got to be friends when he started asking me some questions about the cruise dog that I had, and he was looking for a pup, and I happened to know my friend Randy Smith up in Pennsylvania had some pups, and Keston and Randy got together, and he ordered a pup, and it was out of Sean Burden's pack dog, Power Pack bred dog, and Randy Smith's friend female, and I drove up and picked the pup up while I was visiting my mother up in Virginia, and brought it back down to Keston, and he and I've been friends ever since. And
Good.
we're kind of partners now on a pup, that another one that we got from Randy Smith. But anyway, Keston, he only goes coon hunting when it gets dark, but he tries to go every time it gets dark.
Sound like another friend of mine.
Yeah. Who would that be?
Randy Smith over in Mississippi.
Yeah.
He don't go hunting till it gets dark, but he thinks he's got to go about every night. And he may say, "Well, I'm just going to go for a short one tonight." But he goes, but that's the only way you can train a dog, Steve.
You know what the odd thing about Randy is? He always shows up at camp with a coon dog. You think it has anything to do with it? Maybe.
It has a lot to do with it. If you don't hunt the dogs, my dogs, if it went hunting tonight, it would be tired in about an hour because it's hot weather. I hadn't been hunting any.
Yeah.
But I've got to get started again, and once I will. But
well, I try to tell these young hunters to, there's no substitute for hunting a dog. I've known that, and I lived for many years where I could do that. I had easy hunting in Michigan, and, there wasn't many nights that I missed. But down here in Florida, I've missed a lot of nights this summer.
Oh, yeah.
I just talked
It's just been too hot for me. I just don't enjoy hunting when it's real hot. Well, I never have, but I've always managed to hunt through the summer. But this is the first year that I hadn't hunted a whole lot in the summertime.
All right. How old are you, Nubbin?
I'm 81.
So you already passed the 81 birthday. I remember when you hit 80, and I'm right behind you. I'll be 76 this fall.
Yeah.
We were talking the other day for our listeners here, talking about our upcoming White River trip that we've taken now since back in 2010. Of course, you've been going a lot longer than that.
Yeah.
But I told you that we're going to have to bring in some of these young bucks. And
somebody's got to go to the tree when that water gets deep,
That's right. That's right. But when you're our age, just walking to the tree is an accomplishment.
Right.
But when you add in that water up under your chin and things like that, it kind of ceases to be fun.
That's right.
And you begin to wonder, well, why am I doing this? But you remember, go ahead.
I started to say, well, the dog I've got now, if I don't want to go to the tree or the water's too deep, I just got to call her and then she'll come. So I don't have to go. I don't like to do that, but I do it every now and then.
Yeah, we put a handle on them for sure. And that just makes it so much easier. really does. And the last one I had that I enjoyed, old Hoss, he, had a good handle on him. But there were a few times I had to reach out there and give him a long-distance phone call, especially White River when he's younger and he's wanting to go pack into the other dogs,
when he got big ears.
Oh, yeah. If he wasn't doing much and somebody over there in the next zip code had something going, he was all about it,
Oh, yeah.
These guys, a lot of these competition hunters today, they just about have a heart attack if they thought their dog would cover another dog. But
they would have a heart attack.
Yeah.
They don't want them going to another dog. In fact, they can't stand that.
Yeah. Well, times have changed. The whole scene has changed, and we talk about that anytime I get somebody anywhere near my age and we talk about hunting the way it used to be. We always talk about the dogs packing up, and it used to be, it took a whole lot. And I'll say this, and I'll draw probably some eye rolls and some head shakes and everything from younger guys, but back in the day, we wanted the dog to take his track as he come to it. We wanted him to have a good nose. We wanted him to work out the track and tree it, and got just as much enjoyment out of that as we would one of these dogs that opens off the chain and then sinks in there a mile and runs over a hot one in the road where he's been running the roads looking for one to cross. And pops him up. But those are the kind you got a pretty good chance of scoring a coon like that,
Oh, yeah.
And that's become the game. And some people disagree, but that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
That's right.
Well, okay. When what was the let's just call it the 25th anniversary Autumn Oaks. That was your first trip out there, right?
Right. Yes, it was.
Did you kind of prepare for that? You were hunting. Let's back this up a little bit. And some of this will be old news for people that have listened to us before, but there'll be a lot that won't remember it. The Hank dog that you had, what was he, about 4 when he won that?
Yeah, he was born in 80, so he would be 4, yeah.
Yeah. Did you hunt him at home to get him ready for Autumn Oaks, or did you?
Well, I thought I did, and I was hunting 2 or 3 or 4 nights a week, and I was hunting regular, and I did have him ready for that hunt. Now, when you get through talking about the Autumn Oaks hunt and get to the World hunt, I did not have him ready for that the first time I went up there because he was not in shape to hunt every night, for a week. And back then we was hunting 3-hour hunts.
Oh yeah.
And, but the following year I did have him ready. But I hunted a whole lot back then, a lot more than I do now. And I thought I had him in good shape.
Well, you've got a good bunch of fellows around there that you hunt with. I know you're like me; you don't hunt as hard as you used to, but there are several fellows around there that are good coon hunters that you can go with, and without not trying to talk too much about their dogs or whatever. But how do you think coon hunting has changed since those years back in the mid-'80s?
Well, to me, like you said something a while ago, they wanted to wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, tree one real quick to get through the country. And that's what I see. And then most people now training a dog, if it goes to another dog, they shock it. And then, back years ago when I was hunting in the hunts, then I wanted a dog, if it struck a track by itself, to finish it and tree it and stay there. But if another dog struck, put in there with him and hope I get first tree. I want him to participate in all things, but they don't want that anymore. Mm-hmm. They want the dog by itself. And especially these hour hunts we have now, if you turn 4 dogs loose and they get treed, the hunt's over when you score them 4 trees most of the time. Because they're going to be so far apart.
Right, exactly. And
that's more than anything, I think.
Right. And I guess, the thing that comes to mind to me when I look back at all of the breeds that there are of dogs, and you watch a major dog show and they talk about this one was bred to do this and that one was bred to do that. Over time, they developed all those different breeds. One of them was be like this little dachshund we got here, a little short-legged, long-bodied dog that could get back in a hole. And then you got a big old long-legged rascal that could run down a coyote or a jackrabbit or whatever. And over time, they developed these dogs to do these different kinds of things. Well, the hound, was always, number one, it was a scent hound, or at least the kind that we follow. And he used his nose, and that was his tool. The main skill set that he had was the ability to follow a track. And the colder he could follow and put a tree on the end of it, the better, the more he was worth. But we have changed. And I guess what I'm trying to get at is these dogs have been trained to be independent. A lot of it, as you say, have been trained into them. But now they're starting to produce that too. So it kind of gets, it gets tricky there, but it's kind of a mixture of behavior then becomes genetics. You get one that is independent, maybe wasn't that way to begin with, but he was trained that way, and you breed him to another one that was trained that way. And after a while, those characteristics start to carry through to their offspring.
You're right.
Yeah.
That's what they do.
Yeah. And to me, there was a question that came up on Coon Hunting Conversations, which is a Facebook group that I started, 3 or 4 years ago. There's almost 10,000 members in that group now. And an individual brought up the question about having a well-bred dog, but the dog, wasn't started or wasn't, I don't know if the dog never had a chance or the dog just, didn't want to hunt. But anyway, he made no bones about the fact that the dog was not a coon dog, but it was a well-bred dog. And he was asking, should he breed that dog? Now, back in the day, we always pretty much said, my dog's that stud to proven females. That was a common thing that you'd read in the stud ad. What do you think about that?
Well, they say that, but if you had a little money in your hand, come over to breed, I'm sure they'd breed to you.
Yeah. That paper will hold still for anything, right?
It does, yes. It does. But, I think a dog, if it's bred right, it could throw the same dogs if they're hunted. But if they're not hunted, if you buy a pup and leave it in the pen, it ain't never going to tree a coon. You got to take it out of the pen and let it do what it's supposed to do.
Well, I agree 100%. But here's the thing. Here's where I stand on that. I would rather have the well-bred dog with the genetics behind it that I knew, came from a good family or a line of dogs, even though it may never have been hunted. I would rather take a chance on a pup out of that dog than I would the best coon dog that ever walked down the road but had no background whatsoever.
I agree with that now. That's what I would too.
I can remember back in the days of bear hunting in West Virginia, and there was a couple females, they're little English type females, kind of short-eared dogs, weigh about 40 pounds, Kate and Queen. They could cold trail a bear like you wouldn't believe. They could fly on a cold track. They were just awesome, and they were out of nothing. I mean, their sire was an old dog they just called Jesse Morgan's old white dog. And the female was a red bone female that Granville Burrell had that was worthless. And yet, here they are. They're top bear dogs.
But they were hunting a lot too.
Well, they were, absolutely. Yeah. And that's the difference, I think. And, well, I've got a couple of pups myself now. I have them as partnerships. And you and I know this, but I want to fill the listeners in on this. 2 pups, they were born in October. They were born one day apart. A Plott pup was born on October 11th, and the Tree and Walker female pup was born on my birthday, the 12th. They have been both with hunters that have given them a lot of opportunity in the woods, a lot of nights spent in the woods and so forth. And they're totally different in the way that they're developing. But I'm going to say that once it all shakes out, the one that's been a lot slower is probably going to be, the way she's progressing, it looks like she's going to make a dog. And, of course, we all like the one that's doing it early, The male, the Plott dog, he's been just kind of a standout. He's been running tracks and treeing on his own and hunting good and really likes to be by himself. He slipped up the other night and really got his first bad mark in his illustrious 10 months of life. He treated a possum.
Well, they're going to all do that. I wouldn't care if they run a deer, what they done when they was young. In fact, I bought a dog from my nephew one time. Then the reason I liked that dog, he was 9 months old, and he run a deer to catch it, buddy, for the longest. He went out of here, and after a while, he come back. And I asked him to sell him that night, and he wouldn't do it. I finally wound up buying that dog 3 or 4 months later, and really just on the way he ran that deer, because he could really move one, buddy. And he finally quit, after a few shockings.
Well, on the Walker female, she's been really slow, When Keston got her, I think she was about 4 months old, something like that, 4 or 5 months old, had shown no indication that she was interested in anything with fur on it. Playing in the yard with the other dogs was what she wanted to do. And the first few times I took her to the woods, that's, about all she wanted to do. And wouldn't go to the other dogs, acted like she was afraid of the other dogs when they would bark. She never was a timid puppy, but she just, she was just quirky.
She had to figure out what they were doing.
Yeah, and she was still getting sick in the dog box and things like that. Well, she, this boy is just, there's no way to explain it. But he's a hunter. I mean, he loves it, and he's been real successful in training a male pup there that he's got that's 13 months old. That's really doing well. But anyway, the point about this female is, it's easy to get real discouraged with them and say, well, she should be doing this and that. And when the Plott's down there in North Carolina treeing coons and she's up here acting like she didn't even know, no interest in anything of the game variety. But little by little by little, she's changing, and she got to what she's
she just had to grow up a little bit.
That's it. And she still has a lot of pup in her. There's no question about that. She still has a lot of play in her. But where the Plott, on the other hand, he just wants to get out there and try to get into something, But so they're all different. I guess the point I'm trying to make is that they're all different, but you just got to keep taking them.
Keep taking them. That's all you can do. for a while, but after a while, if they're not doing it, you got to give up on them.
Well, you do, but I thought it was interesting when I had Lee Logan on the podcast a few weeks ago, and I hope that inspired a lot of people. I know my friend Billy Dwyer down in Louisiana particularly liked the episode with Lee because he's working with a young walker female that's kind of trying his patience a little bit. She's been pretty slow, but Lee had an instance there with the Genie female that he had that made Grand Nite Champion and shows up on a lot of pedigrees. She, I think that she was the one, I don't want to be wrong about that, but she might have been the one that was the mother of Clover, the Logan's Wild Clover. But anyway, it had gotten down to the point, well, old girl, this is your last night in the woods. Mm-hmm. If you don't do something tonight, you're not going to get to come home. And as fate would have it, she got out there and ran and treed that night and then just went on, so.
Some of them start later than others. I know that. But I used to raise a pup every year, or pretty much every year. But when the year old, 12 months is what I'd give after 12 months, if that dog is not doing something that I liked, it had to go.
Right.
It may not be a coon dog yet. It may not be. It had to be doing something that I saw a little that I want to keep this one. But when a year old, if it wasn't doing something, somebody else had to feed it.
Well, that's right, and I think that's probably a pretty good milestone there to use, especially the way pups are bred today. I think they're bred to start earlier than pups.
They really are. Yeah, they are.
But hey, before we go any further, and I want to talk more about Autumn Oaks and about your experience back there and about some of the things that we'll see and do when we're there, I wanted to mention my mailbag here. I get a lot of correspondence and a lot of contacts from people every week from all over the country. And, there's just so many of them that I can't really mention all of them, but I just want to read off a few here that I've talked to just within this last week. There's a fellow named Tony Geiger, a fellow named Mitchell Baxter, a fellow from down there in your part of the world that's 90-some years old now. I think he just did a podcast with one of the other boys, Harold Edwards. I talked to him here just recently, and
I think Harold's 92 now.
Yeah, and he still goes hunting. Isn't that amazing? Yeah. And he's got a lot of memories, and he wanted me to hook him up with Fred Moran. Fred Moran, he said, has bought several dogs from him down through the years. And, of course, Fred's been on the podcast here several times. And it's about time for us to get back in touch with Fred. I'm hoping to see him at Autumn Oaks so that we can get some more recording done. A fellow named Cody Coppin called me or contacted me. My friend Gordy Schrader from up in Ohio and lives now in Michigan. We're going to be doing a little dog transportation for Gordy back and forth from Autumn Oaks. Had a good phone conversation with Lee Currens from over in South Carolina. Lee had a birthday this week, and I don't remember exactly how many, but it's 80-something, and still doing good. And he's got a little problem with his feet and all, but really doing good for his age. And he'll be at Autumn Oaks, so looking forward to seeing him. I heard from a lady named Valerie Robinson, talking about this thyroid issue. And I had posted, and we've talked about it on the podcast, about the cruise dog that I had and how he ended up being a low thyroid dog. And I've had a lot of communication from a lot of people with their situations and all. And I'm trying to log all that stuff and someday maybe roll that out and share it with other people out there that's going through that. Did you ever have a dog with thyroid issues? No.
No, I don't think. If I did, I didn't know it. But a lot of people do now, especially in the Walker dogs. They're talking about. I know my buddy Jamie and Trey Perry, and they experienced that a good bit with some dogs, and but I never heard of it.
Well, Jamie is the one that persuaded me, to get the cruise dog tested, and sure enough, he did test low. And I just got a report this week. I'll give tip of hat to old Cruz. Of course, he's on medication and all. I made the decision. I hated to because there's a lot of things I liked about the dog, but you got to see those eyes when you walk up to a tree.
That's
and
right.
If you don't see those eyes, you're just kidding yourself. And old Cruz, he was selling it, man. I mean, he had the complete package, but one thing was missing was those eyes.
Right.
And so anyway, I let a kid up in Virginia that loved to hunt with his granddad and just wanted a dog. He didn't care. He just wanted to have a dog. And I checked him out, and I knew that he'd take care of Cruz. And so I gave him the dog, and we put him on medication, and all that. And I check up on him every once in a while, make sure he's still giving that medication to him. And I got a report this week that old Cruz had treated 3 coons this week. So maybe he's coming around. Or maybe it was just that 3-year-old. Well, actually, I think Cruz probably just turned 4.
He probably did. Maybe if that would help old Cruz, maybe I need to get on medication. I might get up and go more.
I tell you. Yeah, we might need that for sure.
Yeah.
Well, I heard from a fellow named Luke Worthington. I enjoyed hearing from him. I heard from Josh Turner. Now, when I saw that, I said, Josh Turner, man, that Nashville recording artist. Of course, my cousin Ted Green there is Josh's management agency in Nashville. This fellow, Josh, is from West Virginia. Seemed like a very nice fellow, and we corresponded back and forth. It was good to hear from him. I heard from a fellow named Clay Nelson, who's really interested in plots and wanting to get a plot club started there in the South. Talked to him. And one enjoyable conversation and back and forth was with Zach McBee, which Zach has been on several podcasts here recently, and is a real knowledgeable young man as far as training and campaigning coon dogs. Much enjoyed that. And then earlier, I think I mentioned Billy Dwyer. He used to be on Facebook as Whistling Dixie, but Billy's has been a guest on this podcast. So, but that's just a few right there of people, and I could sit here and read names all evening. But want to thank everybody that takes the time to drop a line, a note, email, a text, whatever. And for everybody that says they enjoy the podcast, that really is enjoyable for me to hear you say. And hopefully, I know you get tired of listening to me ramble. Well, you have to. But anyway, it's for you that I'm doing this, and I do thank you for getting back to me. Nubbin, we're going to Autumn Oaks. I'm going to come up to your place on Wednesday, which is about a day's drive for me. Yeah. And then I always have that great bed there that Becky provides for me. I feel like I'm in a bed and breakfast, really. But it's always good to be up there and to see you all. But then Thursday morning, bright and early, we're going to roll up the road to Richmond, Indiana.
Get on up Highway 65.
Yeah, we're going through Rocket Town up there, Huntsville. We go to Nashville, and up through Louisville, and on up to Indianapolis. And then I think the longest stretch of road on our entire trip is that I-70 from Indianapolis over to Richmond. Seems like we'll never get there.
Got to go east. It seemed like a long way, but it's not that far, but it seemed like it always takes a while.
Yeah, it was kind of like going to my grandma's in Tennessee, that long 500-mile trip seemed like the longest distance was at 8 miles from the town of Dixon out to the farm,
Yeah.
Well, okay, back in 1984 then, you went to Jasper, Indiana. Replay that. What do you remember about Autumn Oaks back then?
Well, that's been a long time ago. The main thing I remember is I drew two walkers, a blue tick, and of course had a black and tan. And really, when I went up there, I just wanted to go to a big hunt and participate and hope my dog done good. And that's really all I wanted. I didn't have any anticipation of winning the hunt. And I did think, well, if I could get to be the high scoring black and tan of the hunt, that would be good because I was in the Black and Tan Association and I still am. But, I didn't have any inclination that I'd win the hunt, although I knew I had a dog that could tree cones and could compete. And and I think I wound up the night treeing. I treed a couple of cones, and when we all did, all dogs was participating. Mine got off to self. I remember one time and treat a cone, and at the end of the hunt, I won the cast, and I had 750, 800, something like that. And I thought that's pretty good score, but that's not going to win a big hunt like this. But in Jasper, Indiana, there's not as many coons down there back then as they are on up northern in Indiana.
That's right. That's right.
So anyway, that wound up. And I remember Sunday morning you go out there, and I knew I'd get, I hoped I would get a trophy or something, but I still didn't think I was going to win the hunt. And I'm sitting there, and normally they call the black and tans out first, the high score black and tan winner, grand champion black and tan of the year. And then they call that a blue tick. And I thought, well, did I get scratched? What happened? Anyway, so they got on down and called them all out, and then they called me out. But I didn't really, till that point, I didn't have any idea that I was going to win the hunt.
They skipped over the black and tan because they were going to read it last because it was the biggest.
That's what they do. But at that time, I didn't really know what was going on,
Well, I don't know if I was the one reading it off or whether it was Fred Miller, but
I don't remember. I know Miss Miller was standing out there with you. I think you was standing out there handing her trophies out.
That's probably what was going on. And, yeah.
But anyway, I was real proud, and I thought, man, there ain't nothing to these big hunts, But anyway, that was a good experience, and
Yeah.
And then the next year, moving right along, the next year I won the high scoring black and tan Grand Nite Champion. And then the third year I was up there, I won the high scoring black and tan. But I didn't win. I didn't win it all,
Yeah.
But come close that second year, but I was a few points shy.
And that was with Hank all 3 years?
Yeah, all 3 years I was with Hank. Yeah, I had a couple of dogs at home, but that was the only dog what I call a coon dog, And he was a competitor. I lost a lot of sleep hunting that dog because there was no comeback. You couldn't call him. Back then, we didn't have shotgun collars. Where he went, you had to follow him. But I remember telling folks I lost a lot of sleep with that dog, which I don't do that anymore because with this collars we got now. If the dog won't come back naturally like mine does now, I just have to call mine and she'll come.
Yeah.
And by the way, she is a walker dog. To all you folks that think I still hunt black dogs, well, I've got one dog here, and it's a walker dog, and I've had her 4 years now. And she was 2 years old when I bought her. And I still love black dogs, but I love a dog at Tree Cone. I love a dog at Mines, and that's what I got now.
Well, there's no doubt about it. Kate's a nice little female, really nice little female tree dog out of this world.
Oh, yeah.
She'll have those eyes most of the time. None of them are 100%, but
oh, no,
she's a real nice little dog to hunt with. I enjoy hunting with her, and forevermore a tree dog, and just stands right there on that tree looking up, not looking right or left or jumping or jacking the tree or anything of the sort. She's just a nice little dog, and she's out of the X dog, right?
She's out of Insane Cane.
Yeah.
Insane Cane, yeah.
Yes, sir. And you raised the little puppies out of her, but
Yeah, I guess they're 2 years old now. She just raised four. She had five, and one of them was dead when I got up there. But uh, the three of them are doing real good. I don't know what about the fourth one. I don't know anything
yeah.
about it, but three of them are doing real good. So I'm told, and I haven't been hunting with any of them. But
Well, you bred to a dog over in Mississippi, didn't you?
I did. I bred to a dog, Galen and Billy Rawls, this dog over in right out of Columbus, Miss. I guess it's Columbus over that way in Mississippi. Anyway,
Yeah.
anyway, I'd heard a lot about that dog, and my friend Randy Smith that we mentioned earlier, he told me about the dog. He really liked the male dog. And I've always liked what I call line breed or whatever, breed real close. So Galen and Billy's dog is out of insane cane, but a different female.
So it was a half brother sister cross.
Half brother.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Well, that's we're going to have to do a little better job and figure out where those pups are and what they're doing. We may have to get off the pocketbook. Have one of these.
Listen, let me tell you this much. When something happens to Kate, I hope she's around a few more years, and I'll probably quit coon hunting. 'Cause at this age, you can't keep up with the folks in the woods, and you let them go get your dog. And I hunt with a guy named Jerry Hanna. He's my age, and we both got dogs that are older. And when we go to the woods, if we make a tree pretty quick, then we turn loose again. If the dogs go way in yonder tree, then when we get them, we lead them back to the truck and come home. And that's my coon hunting nowadays. And I was telling somebody the other day, getting off the subject just a little bit. The reason I quit competition hunting 4 years ago or so is I remember years ago when I was a young guy full of it, then I wanted to get to the tree as quick as I could, score the tree, move and turn loose again. Because if you do that over and over and over, you'll get to turn loose one extra time if you just dragging around. And the more you turn loose, the more coons you out to tree.
Yeah.
Now, if I had an older gentleman in the cast with me that could not keep up, then we had to lag back to keep up with him. We couldn't go off and leave him. And I remember thinking, well, if you can't keep up, why don't you stay at home? Okay. So when I got this age, then I remembered all that. And I thought, okay, I had just bought Kate and she had 2 wins. And I thought I need to make her a night champion anyway. So I entered one hunt after I got her and I won first place. And I thought, I'm not hunting anymore because I'm not going to hold these young kids up like I used to fuss and gripe about. I'm not going to hunt. If I go to a hunt, I got a cast, but I'll stay at the truck and say, y'all go north and hunt and come back when you tree a coon or turn loose again.
Yeah.
So that's my philosophy. If you can't keep up, and, you got to tree coons on these hunts, and you can't tree them if you're lagging around and not staying in a big hurry all the time.
Well, I think the hunt formats, a lot of the hunts anymore, kind of, they're not high scoring hunts the way they used to be back in our day. Mm-hmm. But as you were talking there, it just kind of reminded me of something, Nubbin. We held ourselves to a higher standard. And here again, I'm probably going to get some flack from some of the younger hunters and all.
We really don't care, do we?
We really don't. Somebody said one day that they didn't like listening to my podcast, that I talk too much and so forth. And I said, well, it's my podcast, you go get you one. You can just turn the radio and let it play for an hour if you want to.
That's right.
No. But what I was going to say is that I think we held ourselves to a higher standard. And I don't mean in honesty or whatever. I'm talking about, we hunted a lot harder than these hunters of today hunt. A lot of these guys that are running these competition hunts, especially the way the money's so lucrative and all, a lot of these guys are not really hunting all week. All they're doing is hauling the dog to a hunt on a weekend. We were out there hunting. We didn't have tracking collars. We didn't have, we might come dragging in time to get a shower and go to work. I've done it, and I know you have too, probably a lot of mornings. And I'm not saying this to try to say we were better, stronger, all that, but we just hunted a lot harder, and we held ourselves to a lot higher standard of what a hard hunter was. That word, he's a hard hunter. That just meant he did it a lot, and he did it for a long time when he went. And I don't think, I hear guys saying this all the time. The only time their dog's been in the woods that week was that night at that hunt.
Yeah, I'm sure. Well, I thought you had to hunt a dog, and I'm gonna tell you a little bit about the world hunt one time. I went in '85. I went to the world hunt, and back in '85, ACHA was the world hunt. Okay, I go up there, and after Wednesday night, then I was a high scoring dog for the week so far. And then you pick the top 25 and blah blah blah, and go on to our top 20 after a while. But listen, the last night, my dog was wore out because we was hunting 3 hours every night. He was not in shape. Okay, and I realized that. All right, the next year, all summer long, I swam that dog. I had a neighbor that had a 15, 20 acre lake, or friend, and had a flat bottom boat there. And I'd go over and get in that boat and take old Hank out in the middle of that lake and put him out and make him pull me in that boat back to the bank. And I done that every day for a while. And then I turned the boat sideways and made him pull it sideways. And he was hard as a rock. And I'd also do this. My son was a teenager then, or young man. And then I was working a second shift at the time. My son Scott would take the dog hunting at dark and hunt him 2 or 3 hours or more. And when I'd get him at midnight, and I'd take him hunt him on the daylight. And we done that every night for a while.
Yeah.
So you got to have a dog in shape if you're going to do the world hunt and go hunt every night.
Well, especially when you're going to have to double up. You're going to have late rounds.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's where a lot of guys fall short, They get those early round wins, but then that late round, that's a tough one, because there's just a lot of factors that go into those late round casts. A lot of times you're hunting on ground that's already been hunted over early, and, cast the dogs loose where another cast has already been. The dogs, there's all kinds of, a lot of dogs, they want to smell around where this dog's been or that dog been instead of getting their mind on getting in there and treeing a coon, and then the coons have already been run and treed and they're, probably in the den or whatever. Just a lot of, some of it may be just conjecture that you figure it's that way, but that's the way we always thought about it anyway. But, yeah, no substitute for keeping them in shape. I will give my a tip of my hat to Mark Miller there in Taylorsville, North Carolina, that is my partner on the Plot Dog. He swims that pup all the time. The pup's kind of like his old granddad was. He'll swim after a retriever dummy. Like these retrievers, they'll throw them across a pond. Yeah. Well, the second time he showed Fever that, he was all about it. So he'd go and he'd swim out there and swim back with it, and that. And then he's put him in a couple of water races. And the first one was a state championship. He won his heat, and then he came back and came in second on the final. Then the next time he went, he won the whole deal, But the fact is, that he's strengthening that pup. And when he takes him into the woods, and he's in mountains there where he is, he goes hunting, So I'm not trying to brag on this pup. Anything could happen to him. He's just 10 months old. But it's it's important to keep them in condition. That's for sure.
That's right. You got to have them in shape.
Well, bear hunting over the years, keeping the dog's feet in shape was a hard thing. And most of the guys would have these mechanical dog walkers, like spokes, where you could, with a motor on it, a slow, you have to set the speed at, something that the dog can attain just by walking. But anyway, getting them in shape is a big part of coon hunting or any kind of hunting that you do with the dog. And there's a whole episode to be talked about there about how to, we don't as coon hunters do enough to check our dogs after we're through with the hunt. We need to get them up on the tailgate and go over them, check their feet, check their ears and their eyes, make sure they don't have any foreign debris in their eyes. I had
and feed them when you get home.
Yeah.
After the hunt, yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's all kinds of thoughts about that, whether you feed them before, you feed them after. When I heard Dr. Reynolds with the Purina group talking about those dogs running those sprint races, 100-mile sprints on an empty stomach, I thought, well, it's probably better not to feed them before you take them. But there's just a lot of things to being a houndsman that we can learn if we just stop and think about things. I think coon hunters have been particularly lax in that of just going to get the dog, time to go to the woods, throw him in the dog box, turn him loose, time to go put him back in the dog bed, throw him in the kennel, and forget about him till the next night. I don't think there's many coon hunters like that anymore, but there sure used to be a lot.
You got to take care of your dog. I know most of the time. I've been feeding my dog twice a day here lately, or for a good while. But I used to feed in the morning, and then at night when I come in and go hunting, I'd take them hunting and feed them when I got back. And that's just what I've always done.
Well, the old saying is, if it ain't broke, don't fix it,
That's right, yeah.
It seems to work. And I know at hunting camp, we always give them a little feed when we get back in, and probably feed them a little bit the next morning, too. And the more you hunt them, the harder you're hunting them, the more they're going to need. And cannot overemphasize a lot of good fresh water for a dog. They got to have it for sure.
Okay. In this heat.
Yeah. Well, we're going to go up to Richmond here. It'll be just 3 or 4 days from the time we're recording this, and we're going to drive pretty good. What does it take us? 8 hours maybe from your place?
I'm a guess. I'm thinking I wrote it down somewhere. It's about 540 miles from my house to the hunt.
Yeah. So, and of course, it's a day's drive from my place up to yours on Wednesday. But, well, we'll roll in there. And this year, I'm not going to be at the American Cooner booth, but this is all after the fact because this podcast is going to air on Labor Day.
Right.
So we'll already be back home. I'll be grilling burgers and hot dogs and maybe sipping on a cool beverage out there on the patio if I'm lucky. But by the time this air,
I'll be sipping on a glass of wine.
Yeah, your wine is. I was talking to Jason Doobie out at W Supply, and he said he wasn't going to be able to make Autumn Oaks this time, but he sure wanted to get back and get in on the stories and some of Nubbin's wine. So we'll have to do that.
I got a new batch of muscadine wine bubbling in the basement right now.
I see. Yeah. I don't guess we're gonna get you in trouble for being a what is it they call it? Well, you're not making moonshine. I know. No. You're making grape wine, juice.
Making grape juice. Yeah.
That's right.
Or blackberry juice or anything it'll ferment.
Yeah. Well, what are some of the things you like to do when you go to Autumn Oaks? What do you enjoy about going up there?
I just like to visit with other coon hunters that I have heard about, read about, or knew about, and just talk to them about what they're doing and how the world's treating them. And just visit. I like to walk around and talk. I may not sound like it on this podcast, but I love to talk. And
Yeah. Well, I do. I have to watch that because I talk too much, but
yeah,
that's what I enjoy the most about it too. And I hope that I will have gotten to see as many people. UKC this year is doing things a little different. They have got a media area set up for the podcasters and the YouTubers that have video, YouTube channels and so forth. So, and I don't know, it'll be after the fact anyway, but it'll be somewhere there in that headquarters area, I would imagine. And so that's where, hopefully.
That's where all the breed associations are set up, and then the bench shows over to the left. So that's probably where to be at, I would think. Well, and it may be over where they serve dinner and lunch and breakfast and stuff in that building.
Yeah. Well, it'll be in one or the other. That big building where the show is and the breed associations and all that is called the Tom Raper Center. And then the other one is the Coleman Center, where we used to always have the headquarters and the kitchen, and also be one of the two of those. So I hope a lot of people will have stopped by and all. And what I'm going to do, or what I will have done, is to walk around the crowd with the portable equipment and try to talk to as many people as I can and record them for a podcast that will air after this one comes out the week following. So that's the plan anyway. So hopefully I will have gotten a chance to talk to a lot of hunters. And I know Keston, the young fellow that's coming up from Virginia, he is totally a novice when it comes to night hunts. He doesn't know anything about them. He wants to learn. I got to really give a tip of my hat to this young man. He said, I want to go out on a good cast. I don't want to go out on a cast where there's, confrontation and things like that. I just want to be out there to learn. I want to be out there to listen to the dogs, listen to the handlers, and see what's going on and learn as much about this as I can, because I want to competition hunt. And that's a wake-up call for us, older guys, and especially those that are still hitting it hard out there. There's somebody walking along on your cast, or somebody comes up to you and says, do you mind if I walk along? Invite them along. That's the only way our sport's going to survive.
Right.
And I was just really blessed to meet him and to meet Mark Miller, because at my age, just like we've talked about, we just can't do everything we used to do. And to have a younger fella to partner with you on the dog, to hunt the dog, to give you videos and phone calls and text messages to tell you how the hunt went, man, that means a lot to me. And
yeah, it does. Well, when you get our age, you can't do the stuff you used to do. I mean, you might think you can, but you can't. I mean, just like this morning. Of course, I live out in the country, and there was a deer killed next door to me a couple of days ago. And the county's supposed to come pick them up if you call them, and we called, and they didn't come yesterday. So this morning, I thought, I've got to get that deer out of here. So I had to, normally years ago, I'd have went out there and got the deer and thrown it up in the truck. But I had to call one of my neighbors to come help me. He'd get one in, I get the other, and we put it in my truck. Then I hauled it off to the woods. But, used to, I just went out there and get it by all four legs and put it up in there.
Yeah.
But it was a full-grown doe deer, so, But when you get to where you think, you just have to get help doing stuff,
Well, you do, and it's really, it kind of comes on you, it kind of blindsides you. At least it's that way with me. I've been here in Florida, I think 9 years now.
Mm-hmm.
And paddling that kayak around in the Gulf was just nothing to me. And I can still do that, but getting the thing, I did have a trailer made for it, so that makes it easier. I don't have to load it up on top of the back of the truck. But
You can get you one that's got them pedals where you pedal it like a bicycle.
yeah, you can. And there was one for sale here just last week or so, and I was, I guess, too tight to spend the money. That had a trolling motor built. They're making now trolling motors just custom built for these kayaks, but there's just so many things. I remember when I first came down, I'd go out to the ramp somewhere to load my kayak, and somebody'd see this old gray-haired man. They'd say, "Hey, can I help you do that?" I said, "No, man, I don't need any help. I got it." Or right now, man,
Right now you'd say, "Yeah, you get the front, I get the back."
That's absolutely. You get the heavy end. Yeah, but time goes on. It does, and it passes so fast. But I'm looking forward to Autumn Oaks, and hopefully, as I said, we've had an opportunity to talk to a lot of our friends and see a lot of people. And then, of course, our big deal that we look forward to all year round, or at least I do. It's been the highlight of my year. Every year now, for several years, is our White River trip.
That's right.
White River Refuge. I was talking to somebody today, and they said we were talking about a refuge that was over in Mississippi that's similar to the White River. Is that Delta?
It is. I've been there one time several years ago with Mike Crockett and Mr. Fred when I used to go over there all the time. It's similar to it, but to me, it's not as good a hunting. But we treat raccoons every night, so that's what it's all about.
Is there access there with 4-wheeler ATV trails and things like we have at the White River?
Yes, but I don't think it's as many. I remember us going down there and we did ride. Seemed like with Mike and somebody might have been riding a horse, and we was riding the 4-wheelers. And that's been years ago.
Yeah. Well, it's hunting season is coming. Autumn Oaks is always, kind of like the introduction. I know that all the vendors come out with their new products at Autumn Oaks. Our friend Ray Conrad, I had him on the podcast a while back, and Ray's always had a new light to come out.
Light. He has a new light every year.
Yeah, and
the best ever.
Well, old Ray's an innovator. He's always changing things up and all. So, and that's one of the things that I like to do at Autumn Oaks too, is walk around and kind of see what's new and who's got what. And one guy I used to enjoy seeing all the time, and I don't think he's in the dog supply business anymore, from Alabama, was Joe. What was Joe's last name?
Joe East. No, East. He got out of that, I'm saying 10 or 12 years ago.
Yeah.
But Joe was around for several years.
Well, there's several of those vendors that I would remember from this. There was a guy named Harry English, and his wife was always with him, and she did some artwork and painted these little figurines of the tree dogs. I always enjoyed seeing him. I always enjoy seeing Don and Kim Spickler with, I think they're called, what are they called up there, Briar Creek or they're going to shoot me. No, Stone Creek.
Yeah, Stone Creek. Yeah, that's right.
From Pennsylvania. The people that I always enjoyed seeing. Rodney Ridenauer from North Carolina is usually there. I'm gonna miss a lot of them, but I don't know if
Bob Osborne from Mississippi.
Yeah, Timber Creek, and our friend Ronnie Stark's usually there with him.
Oh yeah,
and then just it's a fun time to get around and talk to all those people, and I try to go and see the bench show, some of it. But, all those years I called all those entries on the bench show, kind of did the MC work. and was real close to it. But now, man, there's so many rings and so much stuff going on that
Oh yeah, that showing is a lot bigger deal than what it used to be. I know
yeah,
that.
we call it the world's largest coonhound bench show, and it definitely is that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So, well, I talked to my friend Randy Smith. Of course, I got two friends, Randy Smith, one from Mississippi and one from Pennsylvania, and he's all gearing up for the UKC World Hunt. He says they got 5 dogs that are going to the zone hunt, and that they have high hopes for, and so it's that time of year. Man, World Hunt time, and then of course the PKC World will come along after the UKC, and but man, I still get just excited about the openings of coon season as I did when I was a kid. That doesn't change, does it?
No, it doesn't change. You know, when it goes to getting cooler weather, you want to go to hunting more, and season comes. Well, you know, we don't have a season here in Alabama anymore. It's open year round.
Right.
You know, it used to have a season. Of course, we hunted year round anyway, but, you know, you just didn't take a gun, or you didn't have it out where somebody could see it anyway. But, you know, now the turkey hunters and the deer hunters want you to kill all them coons, you know.
Oh, yeah.
They're always asking me, you need to come down to my lease and kill these coons eating up all my corn. And,
yeah, that's
you know,
right. Well, over in Georgia, they've kind of slackened the rules over there. You know, it's pretty much open that you can, I think on private land, maybe it's pretty much year round now. And I think on some of the wildlife management areas and all, they've extended the season. And also the coon.
I'm going to interrupt you. You know, we got this problem, and it's not so much here about this with deer, this wasting disease.
Yeah, chronic wasting disease.
Right. Yeah. Now they telling us, I've never really done it, feed the deer. Some of these land companies, like Westervelt, owns thousands and thousands of acres and lease it out to different clubs, but you can't put corn out anymore.
Yeah, they discourage that baiting because
well, they get that wasting disease from eating after one another. And if you got that one licking on some corn pile and he gets full and leaves, the next one comes by and goes eating that corn, he's going to get that wasting disease.
Yeah.
Or that's what they say. Now, whether they know what they're talking about, hell, I don't know whether they do or not. You know.
Well, when you're our age, Nubbin, we kind of question everything, don't we?
Oh, yeah. Well,
because we do
I've
know.
I've always questioned a lot of stuff myself, but, you know, I don't know. They know more than I do about a lot of stuff, I guess.
Well, you know, I hunted in Michigan for all those years, and people would say, well, you don't hunt during deer season, do you? And I said, when's deer season? I don't pay any attention to deer season. I might wait a little bit longer to go in the woods.
Well, you know, if your dog is broke off the deer, he's not going to fool with them deer, and he's not going to run them off. I know a lot of times over the years, I've been walking to my dog down a fence road, down a pasture fence line or whatever, and get 100 yards from the dog, and there's 4 or 5 deer laying down there. They don't pay any attention to them dogs.
Right. Well, we know that, and you know, but those horn hunters, they think that our dogs would just blow them clear out of the country, and you know, when the study over in South Carolina that I participated in years ago, you know, proved that running the dogs didn't affect the movement of deer at all, or turkeys. Yeah, and so, but you know, it's hard to break old habits and all. But
hey, I remember one time you and I were in Arkansas at White River hunting, and my dog treed, and yours went a little further deeper and treed, and I stopped by my dog, and you was going to go to yours and then come back. And while you were gone, I looked, and there was eyes right over here to the left, wasn't 50 yards. And I thought, what is that? So I walked towards it to see what it was, and a great big old buck reared up when I got kind of close, stretched his legs out, and just walked off. He'd been laying there the whole time.
Yeah. I remember you telling me about that.
He wasn't paying no attention to them dogs. No. That was probably the biggest buck I ever seen in the woods.
Well, you know, that's the frustrating thing about being a hounds person, because you know what the truth is. You know from experience of being out there and seeing all those instances when you walked into dogs and you find deer laying or even standing out there within your light, you know, just looking. while the dogs are treeing. I mean, a deer, if he was afraid, the first thing he was going to do was get out of there.
Oh yeah.
But we know this, but to convince that deer hunter out there that hunts 2 weeks out of the year, most of them, a lot of them are bow hunters that sit those stands every evening after work, and I understand that's their sport and all, and they should have it. I'm 100% for them having that opportunity, but they don't own the woods, and they shouldn't feel that they do. And the game departments around the country should not give preferential treatment to deer and turkey hunters and trout fishermen, just because they do because they feel like that they got more coming back from those guys. They feel like, in Michigan, there's 750,000 deer hunters.
Right.
Or at least there were when I lived there. And so, there's strength in numbers. That's why I've preached all these years about the importance of joining your state association and your national association.
Oh, yeah.
And all that, But, Autumn Oaks for me has had a lot of different, I guess I'd say a lot of different reasons that I've enjoyed it. Way back when I was young, I enjoyed just going for the fanfare and all the people and seeing the stud dogs that I saw in the magazines and
oh yeah,
and going in, sitting around the tables and listening to the conversations. Then when I went to UKC, it became a job. It had to be something that, and Autumn Oaks for UKC was always our showplace event, showcase event. And, and down through we started the Breeders' Showcase, and we had the circus tents outside, and people could set up their tables and all that. And just all kinds of things to just emphasize how important that event was. And, of course, COVID came along a couple of years ago and kind of knocked the wind out of it a bit, but looked like it was coming back pretty strong last year, and I'm hoping that this year has been a real good year for Autumn Oaks.
Well, I hope it is too. I know COVID is down around here right now.
Yeah. Well,
I think that's going to be a thing. It's going to be with us from now on.
I think so, and I think we figured out how to treat it and so forth, and not panic about it.
Just take more ivermectin.
That's right. When you give that dog that monthly ivermectin, give yourself one. Hey, listen, I did not say that, folks. I'm not prescribing that. I have no license to prescribe any kind of medication. So
I don't either.
But that's a whole.
Let me tell you this. Get away from coon hunting a minute. Hawaii just beat Tennessee in a Little League Baseball Championship.
So Hawaii is the world champions now.
Won the U.S. They beat Tennessee. They've been playing for 3 weeks, and I think Chinese Taipei and Curacao. Curacao beat them early, so they'll play Hawaii here in a few days for the Little League World Championship.
Well, all right. Well, we'll look forward to that then. I love baseball. Baseball's my sport, and Miss Ella and I are making plans when we get back from Autumn Oaks. The Houston Astros are in town playing the Tampa Bay Rays, and we like the Astros. We're Astro fans, so we're going to be at the ballpark and enjoying that. But we'll be looking forward to the fall at White River. I think our normal crew will be there. Maybe I know my buddy Mark is going to come out with me for the first time. Of course, you and I will travel together, but he's going to make the ride out, I think. And it's always fun to have somebody new in camp. But the problem is our group is growing to the point that
I used to tell people that they want to, how come you don't invite me to go? And I said, well, I go with somebody else and I can't invite people. But now all my old buddies are dead and I'm a senior one. So, of course,
we got to kind of check with you before we do anything now, because you're the You're the
Well,
grand high
Jamie,
potentate, you know.
my buddy Jamie and Trey come out last year, and they want to go again this year. So there'll be 8 of us, which 5 or 6 is a good crowd, but 8's okay. And we'll just have to choose up sides every night and see who's going to hunt with another and split up and go.
I guess we're going to have to start having a poundage hunt or something, maybe.
Yeah, we'll have to draw names.
Well, the worst thing about it is after the hunt, when we get there in the in the clubhouse or the lodge, I should call it, and we're sitting around there and we're enjoying some of your labor, the muscadines, and listening to the stories, and listening to the stories, and trying to figure out which ones are true and which ones are embellished a little bit or whatever. Yeah. But no, that's a fun part of it for me, I tell you.
Yeah.
And
I think old Keith Durkee's going to go this year. And of course, Randy Smith and you and Jamie and Trey. And
you can't forget the mayor over there of Batesville, Mississippi.
That's right.
Morris Hardy.
Morris Hardy. I was going to call his name, but that's it, as far as I know. Of course, Fishman John will be there, and his boy live over there.
Well, we always enjoy the people that stop in to see us and visit with us during the week. And
there's always somebody stopping.
Yeah, we got our.
You ever noticed they stop at dinner time?
Yeah, they usually come around pretty close to mealtime. I've noticed that. Coon hunters are like that. They're real perceptive about things like that.
Well, I've made some. I've had my wife and I helped her make it some the pear preserves. I made some pear preserves last week, and I made some 2 or 3 more kind.
Yeah, with them cat head biscuits will go pretty good with that pear preserve.
Exactly right.
Yeah. Well, that we don't ever go hungry over there. That's for sure. That's right. For sure.
It's fig. I couldn't think of the name. It's figs and strawberries mixed preserves.
All right. Well, we may have to start a line of jams and jellies here on this podcast, and we'll sell them on the side. Yeah. Well, that's good. Well, we don't divulge which night that Randy and Morris fry fish and frog legs, because, man, I mean, we'd have to beat them off with a stick.
That's right. Don't tell people we fry crappie and frog legs over there.
No.
Because they'll be coming in wanting to eat.
They'll be there every night, won't they? Yeah.
They will, yeah. Well, we don't go hungry while we're over there.
No, that's for sure. We don't. And, Nubbin, you and I have been at this here jaw-jacking for about an hour and 20, almost 25 minutes.
Well, I'm not going to say another word then.
I'll believe that when I see it. Well, I tell you what, buddy, it'll be about 3 days and I'll see you. And
it'll be next Wednesday.
Yeah.
You'll get here a little before dark normally.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then we get up about daylight and lay and stop by Jack's and get us a biscuit and then go on up the road.
That's what we do. We do. And there's probably going to be a story or two told.
Oh, yeah.
Up there.
You like them ham biscuits from there. I like that sausage, egg, and cheese biscuit.
I like that country ham.
Oh, yeah. I know you.
There's a fellow that passed away not too long ago that was real involved in the PKC organization, and I don't know if you ever met him or not, Ross Bagwell.
No, I didn't know him. I heard the name.
He was a friend of Jarvis and all. He was involved in PCA way back in the day. But he got to bringing us the staff of PKC country ham, and it's Benton County molasses. And, man, my dad always loved me. When I'd come home, I'd bring him a can of molasses. My mother make molasses cookies. And doctor told him, I don't know what's putting your cholesterol so high.
I do. Them biscuits and that sobbing syrup.
That's right. And but I love that hickory smoked country ham. Now, man, give me that and some grits and some biscuits. And some of that pear preserves that you're talking about, and a good cup of coffee.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Man, I can do some damage right there now. Well, Nubbin, I guess we're going to shut this thing down, as they say, pee on the fire and call the dogs.
That's right. Yeah.
But it's been good to visit with you. And I hope we've whetted the appetite a little bit for folks to get out and go to some of these events. Get you a traveling buddy, somebody can put up with your lies and just, get out there and see some of this great country we live in, and take an old dog with you, and when it gets dark, turning loose down the creek there somewhere, and just enjoy what all the good Lord's provided for us like we do. Don't you say that's a good idea?
That is a good idea.
Yeah.
A real good idea.
Well, folks, that's going to wind it up for this episode of Gone to the Dogs. And we thank you for tuning in with us. I will tell you that I do still have copies of Gone to the Dogs, A Coon Hunter's Journey, the book that I wrote. There's 200 pages, 22 or 23 chapters, all about coon dogs, coon hunting, stuff I think you'll enjoy reading. It's available at stevefielderbooks.com online. I am going to be announcing real soon a line of Gone to the Dogs hats that you'll be able to purchase through the bookstore there too. So anyway, thanks for listening once again. And if somebody comes up to you and says, "Where's Fielder?" just tell them he's gone to the dogs.